Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Tuesday night. Minicamp is underway over at St. Thomas Sports Park, and certainly we are happy to have you in to talk about it. There were a lot of interesting headlines to come out of minicamp today. We heard from the quarterback. We heard from Brian Callahan, a number of other players as well, and some of those interviews that you'll hear on the radio show tomorrow. But we got to talk about Will Levis first and foremost, and then some role redefinition for Treylon Burks and Caleb Farley that piqued my interest today, as I'm sure it did across the NFL. So we'll look forward to getting into that without candlelight, though we do have our lovely gardenia scented candle, not like the seasoning that you put on, or is it in gardenia like peppers and stuff like that? So this doesn't smell like peppers and processed meats, but it does smell lovely. And it did keep us on time, or at least in some form or fashion, on last night on primetime. So we appreciate you guys bearing with us as we work through the power outages across Middle Tennessee. If you experience power outages through the storms, we hope you're okay. And we're grateful that you choose to spend some of your evening here with us. Before we get started, though, need you guys to share the broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Wherever you are spending your time with us, we always love to see you, but we always love to see more people, new people as well. So retweet it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You can share now to public. That's in the bottom left on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And while you do that, we'll go ahead and get this thing rocking. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the aforementioned Zen Sports. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Get up to $100 on your no-danger first wager, risk-free at Zen Sports with that promo code. Two Rivers Ford, where it is the best time, always a great time to shop at Two Rivers Ford. But they also have a great offer giving you $8,000 cash back if you buy an Expedition from Two Rivers Ford. It is Expedition month at Two Rivers. The Expedition sale at Two Rivers, you save $8,000 on 2024 Ford Expeditions, and I'll tell you more about how you can get in on that great offer later on in the show. And, of course, TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch, your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident at TrueMavFitness.com. A lot of info at Titans practice today, a lot of stuff to work through. Now, the practice itself was in the bubble. They were working through the elements. They didn't want to risk it out on the practice field, out on the grass field, so they took it inside, got some good work in. Today's emphasis was on pressure. So defense pressuring and the offense pressure protection is what the specific emphasis of today's work was on. So defense sending a number of different pressure looks, offense having to adjust and account for the pressure, where the pressure's coming from. Hey, here's the safety creeping up. Here's who's lined up as the Mike backer. Here's who's responsible for them in any number of their protection sets. And that's the kind of stuff that they were doing today at OTAs. So in speaking to Will Levis and a bunch of the other players, had a couple of good takeaways that I think are worth diving into in particular. And then, of course, we'll talk about the Treylon Burks, Caleb Farley special teams element of all of this. The place that I want to start first and foremost in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, if you are so inclined, your Two Rivers Ford take, as it were. What does or where does Will Levis need to improve most in 2024? Where do you look at the quarterback who started in 9 games last year, with 3 wins and 6 losses, with 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, with about 1,800 passing yards and one of the highest pressure and sack rates of any NFL quarterback lined up under center? Where do you want to see him improve the most in 2024? It's your Two Rivers Ford take. Of course, with Will Levis, he was a bit late on some throws today, was the primary observation. Out of practice, he was fine. It wasn't like he played or practiced horribly today, but there were definitely a couple of throws, especially at the end of the practice, where I noticed he was a bit late on the throw and, putting the receiver in a bit of a vulnerable position. Should the receiver be facing an actual defense who's getting ready to crack his skull or give him a concussion, Treylon Burks in Philadelphia style? So there's some of that stuff, the accuracy, the ball placement, still being worked through, still working through footwork and mechanics. Callahan actually talked today about how they are still working to refine his mechanics. And there was also some good info that I'm writing that you'll read at A2ZSports.com, or you will have read maybe by the time we've started this show at A2ZSports.com, about how Levis and Lloyd Cushenberry are working together to cut back on the false starts that plagued the Titans' offensive line group basically for the last two seasons, because there's some science to all of this as well. But in particular, the growth and development of Will Levis. Where do you want to see him take the greatest strides? Your Two Rivers Ford take is presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. And as I mentioned, you can get a great offer at Two Rivers right now because it's the Summer Expedition sale at Two Rivers Ford. You save $8,000 on 2024 Ford Expeditions. $8,000 for an Expedition of your own. That's right. Two Rivers Ford is the South's most trusted Ford dealer, along with all their non-specialty new Ford vehicles sold below MSRP. Go to tworiversford.com for more information and get involved on the Summer Expedition sale at Two Rivers Ford. Where do you want to see the quarterback improve the most? So the accuracy, the ball placement are the things that we hone in on. I think a lot. The mechanics of the quarterback position, which is something that Brian Callahan and Bo Hardigree and Nick Holtz have honed in on. And then there's the idea of how many people are doubting Will Levis this offseason. He has been the subject of some debate. Albert Breer came in here and did a piece on why the Titans didn't even consider taking a quarterback with the first round draft pick that they had this year with the 7th overall pick. There was no consideration given to taking a quarterback, even though there was plenty of people who were advocating for the Titans to upgrade at the quarterback position, knowing or maybe not knowing what they have in Will Levis, but not definitively knowing about Will Levis after the 9-game sample size. So a couple of takeaways from Will Levis's press conference today is, one, how he focuses on the external and how he manages those things relative to his own expectation, his own progress, his own priorities and goals to achieve what it is that he's trying to achieve.
This team nationally, for some reason, you seem to be a polarizing figure. Either people love you or they hate you. How much of that do you hear, and how much of that drives you?
I don't hear much of it. I don't say. I used to be someone who kind of like take that stuff and use it to fuel me, but I feel like now I have my only source of motivation is internal, and I'm not going to let anyone else's opinions define kind of how I work. So they can say what they want, and we're going to go out there on Sundays and do our best to prove them wrong.
What changed that for you?
So that's Will Levis, and then again speaking on a variety of different things that he's been working on this offseason.
I know. I mean, quarterbacks are weirdos. We're always tweaking with something. We always feel like something might be off. Like you saw Brady go through a handful of different footworks throughout one season, and just the ball wasn't coming out the way that I would have liked it to, and we just started looking at what could potentially be the cause of it, and just been messing around with things specifically with my base that I feel like have gotten me into a good spot.
So that's Levis there. If the audio is a little low, he's talking about quarterbacks are weirdos, constantly tweaking their mechanics. He cites Tom Brady basically implementing in a season 4 or 5 different kinds of footwork and continuing to adjust, to adapt, to evolve, to tweak, to tinker. For those of you who watched the league on FX, right? Ruxin, the tinkerer, the toilet tinkerer, all these different things. He's tinkering constantly with his fantasy football lineup. Well, quarterbacks are kind of similar in the way that they go about their footwork, their processing, their release, all the different mechanics, because it's a constantly evolving position and new things might help you and different things might help you, or you may need to get back to basics and get back to the fundamentals that allow you to operate from a strong throwing base, which is what they're trying to accomplish with Will Levis. The ball placement and the accuracy, those are two different things. So what would I rather see him improve upon the most? Well, I think the hardest thing to outright improve is the accuracy first, and then the ball placement can follow along. So when I say accuracy versus ball placement, what are the difference between ball placement and accuracy for a quarterback? And I think that you can talk about the general accuracy referring to putting the football on the target in a spot where the receiver can get it, right? So that is just generally throwing to an area that is on target, one component of the total package that quarterbacks need to be. So general accuracy, the ability of the quarterback to throw to get the ball to the target in the general area where the receiver can catch the ball. So then with ball placement and how it's different, the quarterback consistently has to put the ball in a spot that is most advantageous for a wide receiver to pick up yardage after the catch. So putting the ball in a place where not only can you get the receiver the ball, but where the receiver can then make a play on the ball and make plays down the field and prolong the play, potentially pick up yards after the catch, yards after the carry, things like that. So those are the two general differences. Accuracy, think general. Or rather, accuracy, think macro. Ball placement, think micro. And that is kind of the place that Will Levis is stuck between. Accuracy needs significant improvement. He's more shotgun. I've said this before. He's more shotgun than he is sniper right now, even though he can whip it to any point of the field. And I think that as they work on his base, they work on his footwork, they work on his mechanics, you'll see that grow and develop and get better as well. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMath is always the best place for you to improve your physical fitness. Go to TrueMathFitness.com and learn how they can help you today. So, besides just Will Levis, there are two Titans players. There's a couple of different Titans players that are fighting for what we call roster relevancy. Two of those Titans players are Treylon Burks, who is a former first-round pick in 2022, and Caleb Farley, who is a former first-round pick in 2021. Peter Skoronski is the most, well, I guess Latham and Skoronski are the two most recent first-round picks who are trying to break the 3-year slump that Titans first-rounders have experienced in some form or fashion. And what Brian Callahan said earlier today about the two of them, Farley and Burks, and how they can try and make this roster, because it is about trying, not just, going into the season and staying healthy and things like that. But there is a fair case to be made for either of them not being on the roster by the time the initial 53-man roster is put together by training camp's end. So how can they improve their position? And whom is most likely to have special teams help their case to make the roster? Burks or Farley? Whose case is helped most by special teams? That's the question that we're going to ask you. Right, and you'll hear from Brian Callahan on the two of them here in just a second. This clip was making the rounds from a lot of NFL media who are confused and just kind of generally checking in on the state of Treylon Burks. And, oh, my God, this is the guy they traded A.J. Brown for, whatever, the old tired same narratives. And, by the way, still true narratives, even though they're tired, come back to the forefront anytime you talk about Treylon Burks. So you hear from Brian Callahan on the two of them, Farley and Burks, momentarily, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Get up to $100 on your no-danger first wager. ZenSports.com has all the best odds, boosts, and promo bets for you to get in on the action. Go to ZenSports.com/VIP for your VIP play to be considered at Zen Sports. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. It's Brian Callahan talking about Treylon Burks, Caleb Farley, and special teams.
Today as a gunner, if he winds up fourth in line at the position, no matter how good he is he going to have to contribute on special teams, and what can he do there? Absolutely, he's going to have to contribute. You only get so many hats on game day, and if he's one of those guys on game day, we're going to have to find a place for him because those special teams, guys like him should be great special teams players on top of it just because of his size and speed. And so the gunner thing is something I think he's very capable of doing. There might be some more roles for him in the other phases as well. But, yeah, anytime you're not the full-time starter, you're going to have to contribute somewhere on game day. And I think Trey's attitude and approach to special teams has been fantastic. And so I'm excited to see what he could do for him. I think he's an asset on special teams.
Another guy that is getting a long look there?
Yeah, you have to. Just same reason. If you're not one of the top two or three guys, you're going to have to contribute on teams. And
he's a guy in that mold that if you're trying to get a hat on game day and be one of the 46 active, you got to play a role on special teams, especially as a skill player.
So he talks a little later about Caleb Farley and emphasizing their Burks, which shouldn't surprise anybody. This is the thing. People got bent out of shape and butthurt about Kyle Phillips not being active for a couple of games last year while they were trying to get Treylon Burks back up to speed off the injury. And I said immediately, I understand the logic. Even if it bothers you, even if Kyle Phillips is coming off stretches where he's contributed, because those contributions for Kyle Phillips have been few and far between. But your third and fourth wide receivers have to play special teams. Otherwise, they cannot occupy a 48-man game day roster spot in good conscience. You cannot have 3 or 4 wide receivers on your game day roster that don't contribute on special teams. It simply cannot happen. So Phillips, after he lost the returning job, he can't just be out there to play offense, because you're already doing that with D-Hop. You're already doing that with Burks. Now, Burks no longer has that luxury. He no longer gets that benefit of the doubt where he's not going to have to play special teams. Treylon Burks is out there playing gunner today, a first-round gunner. Will make a lot of Titans fans throw up their hands and be disgusted and say, oh, he's just counting down the days, or you're just counting down the days until you can be over and done with Treylon Burks and another first-round bust from John Robinson, the last first-round bust from John Robinson, the last of John Robinson's first-round draft picks that haven't panned out. And I would understand that initial reaction, but I don't think it's a bad thing for Treylon. I know, durability is a thing, and playing him on special teams on as well as offense is not something that comes to mind when you talk about keeping players available, but this is the nature of his circumstance, and it is exactly what Treylon Burks is going to have to do to solidify a roster spot in 2024. Wrap things up with a little bit of I put the wrong graphic there for Sunday Funday. It's supposed to say gone viral. Either way, a gone viral video, the best thing that I saw on the internet this week. And because you guys know I'm self-involved, it involves me. We'll get to that here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Don't sell without the intel that only the Ashton team can provide. Go to GaryAshton.com for more details. All right. This week's gone viral video comes from today's Titans minicamp practice. So the way that I work for minicamp is I'm not out there for the whole practice, because I've obviously got the radio show. Practice started today at 11:25, and my radio show goes till 1. So how do I get out there for practice? Well, we have Lucas. Lucas does the radio show for the noon hour. I scamper on out to practice, and I gather interviews that we're going to play on the radio show, which is why my bosses allow me to have that kind of flexibility. And because I work for the Titans radio affiliate, I get a little bit of special treatment from time to time. Not even special treatment, but prioritization, shall we say, because I work for the radio affiliate, and that's the nature of the deal, right? In the same way that NFL Network gets priority over me, because the NFL teams are beholden to the NFL Network and the NFL media rights and things like that. And so if the NFL Network wants a player over me, then yeah, the NFL Network's going to win. But if I want a player over somebody else, or if I want a player before somebody else who isn't working at a Titans affiliate, and not just a Titans affiliate, but the Titans flagship station here in Nashville, 104.5 The Zone, which is where I do my radio show, then yeah, I get a little bit of help securing and putting together the best possible interviews from the Titans, of which I'm grateful. Now, today we were recording an interview with Rashad Weaver, who was also made available to the general public, except the difference is the general public had to wait until I'm done interviewing the player to be able to talk to Rashad Weaver. So, until you have the opportunity, I never know. So that's the entire Titans meet. That's me and Rashad Weaver sitting there taping an interview. And then you see Austin Stanley of A to Z Sports pan out to the crowd. You see Lauren Walsh of WSMB checking her watch. Everybody else waiting patiently for Rashad Weaver's interview to conclude with me so that they can get a couple of quotes from Rashad Weaver. And it delights me to have that level of diva over them, and also to remind people that, yes, my time is actually more important than yours. But, of course, I'm kidding, because that would sound super pretentious and super obnoxious, even if I mean it a little bit. That's going to do it for us tonight on the Primetime Show. Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for hanging out. Radio show tomorrow. You'll hear that Rashad Weaver interview, and we've got a bunch of them that are going to be done over the course of the next couple of days, the next 3 days, while we try to max out our Titans media availability, because after this week and one day next week, there is no football anywhere for 6 straight weeks until we come back ready to rock for training camp, which will be a different level of intensity. So have a great rest of your evening. Join us from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone, where you'll hear that Rashad Weaver interview, and I will see you all then.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville. Go home!